So today, why do we collect cards? Well, number one, we like to do it because it's fun. Number two, it is an investment. I have been collecting cards since I was about 5 years old, and I'm now about 60 years old, so I still have some of my cards from when I was a kid, and it's nostalgic, and we all have our favorite memory of a player or a sports team or an event. Now, growing up in Cincinnati, yes, the Big Red Machine. Everybody loved Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, who we just lost, and Tony Perez, Cesar Geronimo, Sparky Anderson. And even before that, we got to remember, Cincinnati is the first professional baseball team. Even New York can't beat us on that. So why do we collect cards? And you got to remember, if you collect cards, do it first by researching. So you could go online to EBTH and do your research. Because number one, in cards, you want to make sure that you try to get cards that have been professionally graded. And some of the best grading companies are PSA, SGC, and Beckett. So if you collect cards, you might want to just focus on rookies. Rookie cards are a great investment, especially if the player you've decided to invest in becomes a Hall of Famer. Or, I hate to say it, at times, if there's an untimely death like Kobe Bryant, who was going to be a future Hall of Famer, he probably will go in this year, they'll make an exception on his untimely death, that made sure that card started to really go up and rise in price. Now, one thing I can say is that EBTH, what we try to do, we grade cards efficiently. And we got to be careful, because when you buy a card, you take the risk that the card may be trimmed. And that's probably one of the biggest disqualifiers in terms of grading a card, because you will find out that the more expensive a card is, there is a greater chance of a card being trimmed. Plus, you got to look if the card is off-centered. And that's all due to the printing that went on years and years ago, because in the old days, the printers didn't actually take a card and grade it and take the measurements accurately, because they were on an assembly line and they had to cut the paper a certain way. And sometimes the card can be really off-centered, and that really is going to hurt the price of that card. Plus, you got to look for gum stains, because you got to remember, in the olden days, sticks of bubble gum would come in with your cards, and that will definitely defer on the price of the card if there's a lot of gum stains. And then you got to look at the rounded touch corners or the soiling marks that are on the paper, and that includes the back and the front. So at EBTH, and I'm one of the graders, but I'm not a professional grader, but I do the best I can, we do make sure that we call out any kind of deficits on the card. And sometimes I even call out if it's a bold gloss that you like to have, that keeps its gloss and it hasn't been played with, and maybe the surface gets wrinkles or creases, because that's a no-no in card collecting. But please remember, collect and have fun.